Okay, now I'm going back to a video where I was speaking about Google Map apps and red t-shirts, gang stalking explained. Now, I'm going to brush a little bit about what I originally said about the confusion stage, the distraction stage, and the sensitization stage. Now, these are three stages I came up with myself, right? With the audio and visual techniques being used, natural noise and unnatural noise, people and objects. This includes brightening, covert drugging, electronic weapons. Now, when somebody first starts getting gang stalked, they have no idea what's going on. It's elusive, it's unpredictable, and it's very psychological. In a sense, a psychological profile has been done on the person, and there's different sorts of things being used in their environment. What they're seeing is real, and the things they're experiencing is real. They're just not familiar with how this is being compartmentalized and networked. Now, again, I went through a year of gang stalking. Now it's almost 3 years. But originally, when I first came out with my interviews and my courses called Beat Gang Stalking, I had been going through it for a year. And it was around late August. I ended up meeting a woman mid-late August. We ended up dating for a couple months. But out of that interaction with her, I learned about how the networking of the gang stalking occurs. At that point, I thought this was like basically cults. Cults that basically trained individuals really well on what to do, and they had it networked really well, and it was like they had contracts and stuff, which I'm sure that happens. I'm sure there are people completely involved in gang stalking that are cults. If a group of people are running around wearing red t-shirts stalking somebody, it's a cult, you know. And so I'm sure cults are very involved in this stuff, and there are contracts and things like that. But for the average person walking the streets that is getting prepaid credit. The average person, they may be homeless, they're working at a shop or something like that. You see these people and they're participating in gang stalking. Not all these people can be cult members. And so I was a little bit confused as to how exactly it worked. I knew these people were I knew the gang stalking network was able to get other people to get involved. I wasn't sure how it was happening. And so when I first started seeing this woman, she told me, she said, "Hey, ever since you came around, I've been getting some strange Facebook communication, strange phone calls. People would call and hang up and whatnot." And at that point, she started getting involved with the gang stalking. Now, she would get Walmart cards and she would get PayPal money, and she wasn't in any she wasn't in any situation to turn money down. So, a few dollars here or there, she would take it. Now, I was seeing her. We were together basically like every day for a couple months, right? And so she would stay the night over here or whatever. And so she would be like out during the day driving around, and then she would periodically get it shown on her phone through a smartphone. It'd be the Google Maps, the modified Google Maps, and they would show her on a dot where to go to do the gang stalking assignments. And so throughout the day, she would follow me like 4 or 5 times, sometimes even more than that, routinely. Like, and then part of it, she would be instructed to follow me. Then she would wear a red shirt for the details of it. Then it switched from red to orange. But she would be following me over and over repeatedly. And all she had, it was easy. The technology did 90% of the work for her. All she had to do was pull out her phone, her smartphone, and follow the directions on the Google map. They would tell her, start and finish directions. And she began showing this to me. And she told me she was meeting with people basically behind my back, and they were talking trash about me, and she was telling me about that. And then she was getting Facebook communication as to what colors to wear. Like she's standing over my house, wake up, and then they would tell her, she would be instructed. First thing she would do is change her clothes, and for the day, and she'd put on different color clothes, red and black or white. They would tell her, and then throughout the day she would leave. Then I'd go, and then like later on she'd be following me around doing the gang stalking assignments. And then when I was with her in person, she would say, "We gotta go to this gas station." And I'd say, "Okay, why are we going there?" She said, "We gotta go there, we gotta go." So we go to the gas station, and then I watched. She would follow the map, the thing. It would be her phone telling her to do it through the Google Maps. She was getting contact to do a gang stalking assignment. And then as we go to the gas station, there would be entry-exit routines of other people participating in the gang stalking assignments. And so other people would be waiting for us to get there, and then she would have her assignment to go there. and to do something, and she would go into the store, and then when she walked out of the store, she would be walking out of the store specifically in front of somebody else or behind somebody else, planned. And the other people in the area, whether out in the parking lot or in the store, they would be participating in the overall gang stalking orchestration with exit entry timing strategies, and she wouldn't necessarily know about it. The other people would be there participating, and she didn't know who they were. It was just all a network of people getting communications through their phone to be in certain places through the GPS and to wear all these color shirts. And so I'm one person, and I'm sitting out there watching literally like 20 people, 10 people to 20 people routinely participate in this gang stalking, everything from the brights on their cars in broad daylight to wearing the different color shirts. And so I'm just sitting there like, damn, like this is all for me. And then she's participating in it, but none of these people necessarily know each other, or only a small amount of them knows each other. And then she comes back out to the car, and we go about our business. And then later on, what I realized, what's one thing I realized? One thing I realized very quickly is it's all cohesive and it's all working together, but yet it's still compartmentalized, right? So all these different people are playing a role, but they didn't all sit down and talk to each other the night before. They're being contacted. So the technology is doing it. The technology is doing it. But then again, the individuals are stalking you, because some of the people at the store, they didn't know me. You know what I mean? A lot of them didn't even know what gang stalking was. It was explained to them in a different sort of way to get them to participate in their assignment, and they would get their little prepaid credit cards or their benefits, just like the girl I was dating was getting. But I was explaining to this girl I was dating, I was telling her exactly what it was. I was saying, this is what gang stalking is, this is how it works, yada, yada, yada. And then so she was just like, damn, that's crazy. And then she saw what I was talking about. And then so she's participating in it. And then it just made sense to me, like, how you can be an individual and you go to like a shopping mall, or you go out and you're having a good time, and then you have so many other people participating in the overall gang orchestration against you, and it's all compartmentalized and all well networked. I've been going through this for almost 3 years. Every single day for almost 3 years. And so it's fascinating to watch. But she showed me a lot. Like, had it not been for her, my education, my knowledge to help other people would be very minimum to little. And she didn't have a driver's license. She didn't have a job. She didn't even have a license plate on her car. And she barely had places to stay at and stuff. And she didn't have much money. And she turned out, you know, not speaking bad about her, but she turned out to have a little drug problem. Later on, I didn't know it right away. It was like a month later, she turned out to have a drug problem. But she turned out to be really moral. You know, if you think about it, it was really weird. She turned out to be like one of the best people. She turned out to be honest and have morality, and to be resourceful and informative. And it wasn't just a thing where she was saying just like, you know, to put me down. She would go do the gang stalking and come right back over my house and then start telling me, we'd be talking about it and all this stuff. So it was, but then sometimes her behavior would change a little bit, and I didn't realize she was on drugs. It was like a month after I was talking to her, and not speaking bad about it, you know, it was a little drug problem, not a big deal, but she was a good person though. She was so, but had it not been for her, but I'll never do that. I'll never do that again though. I swore to myself I'll never do that again. Be with somebody, talking to somebody, hanging out with somebody, and them doing the gang stalking assignments at the same time, and then you having to go out and walk. I'll never do that. That was one of the most craziest scenarios. And there was a lot of other females I've had to deal with similar stuff, but her, I'll give you a rundown explanation of it. Okay, I'm hanging out with her, and I'm around her 24/7. So when she's not around me, the gang stalking network does psychological tactics, right? Where they want to present paint a picture of her being with other men and like leaving and not talking to me anymore. So she would be driving around doing gang stalking assignments, and they would have different guys follow her while she was driving behind her in the car. She would participate, and they would want her to pair up with different guys to follow me around, do the gang stalking assignments. And they want her to do different sorts of stuff, and she would never really do it. Like she would never really do it. But her attitude was different. Like her attitude was just like, you know, F you, give me my money and let me go. Like I don't want to do this anymore. So she would get the little money she would get, and then she would come back right back over my place. And then so I would just be like, damn, that was crazy. Like I just watched you do all these gang stalking assignments, and then you got your little money, and then you come over here and stuff, and then so it was a fascinating experience to watch, but it's not something you would want to go through, to have to sit there and have to watch some woman follow you around everywhere, and then they're trying to make it seem like other guys. It's just a hectic. It's annoying because you're not choosing to participate, and this is something that's being bombarded on you. I didn't say I want to involve myself in this and experience this. This is something that's coming to me. Other people are paying these people to do this to me. So it's a negative thing. It's not something I'm like, I don't want to be in. If I had it my way, I'd never see any of it. If I had it my way, these people that are gang stalking me would never be in my life. I'd never see them, never want to see them. Don't care what happens to them. Good luck for them. But that's it. But this is something that came to me, and so. And they use things like U-Haul trucks. Like, this is one of the craziest experiences. I'd be sitting there at the shopping mall, and one time we were sitting there together. We were outside the shopping mall, and they had a girl that looked just like her outside hanging out in the parking lot, and they have a U-Haul truck pull up. And it was sort of a psychological subliminal message saying, look, she's moving away, the U-Haul truck, or she's moving away. But this would happen multiple different times. Like, the U-Haul scenario thing happened like at least 20 different times when I was around her. So they would subliminally be using the gang stalking to have a U-Haul truck there and to make it seem like she was moving away on the U-Haul truck or something. So I'm just like, what? Like, this is crazy. This is the type of things that happens to an individual when they're being gang stalked, and that's just a small picture of it. That's just a small picture of it. You're talking about multiple stuff. 24/7. Now, again, going back to what I'm saying, individuals get recruited to participate in the gang stalking, and it's technology. They get to use these smartphones. They get to follow the little dots and stuff and drive past you during the day. They get to wear the different t-shirts and stuff like that, and you come across all different sorts of people doing it. Some of them seem like it's one of the things that I notice is like some of the people seem like they're angry they're doing it or something. And I always thought that was strange. Like, why would you invade somebody else's life and stalk somebody and follow somebody around and then feel like it's a negative? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But then some of them would have like a positive like attitude, like a cheerful attitude. And I've just been a spectator watching this for almost 3 years. I've just been watching myself get gang stalked for 3 years. So that's how I know about it. But so then I think a lot of times people don't get what the person's going through because these people are making money off this stuff. And I've been telling people, man, yeah, you're getting your Walmart, like the girl I was telling her, you're getting your Walmart cards and all this stuff. But when you're out spending your Walmart cards, I might be somewhere getting my food drugged at a restaurant. I might be somewhere getting electronic weapons used against me. I'm somewhere, hanging out somewhere. People are just randomly slamming doors on cue to mess with me. So it's not what you think. It's not for the people participating in it. They do their little gang stalking assignment on you, and then it's over with. And then you're constantly being stalked the whole time after that, and it's vicious too. It's 50 to 100 times worse than what you think it is. If you're somebody who is not being gang stalked, and you believe that you have in your mind that you have a conclusion to gang stalking, you don't know anything. You have no clue in the world until you experience it yourself. When you get gang stalked and you begin to experience this yourself 24/7, after 3 days, that's it. You want out. You want out. You're not going to want to do it anymore. And everybody around you, your family, your friends, the people you used to know, the places you're going to, all those people are going to be participating in it. And you're going to be saying, what's happened to my life? Like, I thought I had responsible people who were there for me. I thought all this stuff. All that's out the window. That's gone. That's finished with. And at the end of that 3 days, you're going to be saying, damn, what's going on? What do you mean what's going on? It's going to keep on happening every single day, whether you like it or not. You're going to constantly be getting stalked. You're going to have your food drug. You're going to have electronic weapons. You might have death threats. You're going to have people telling you you're crazy. You're going to have people trying to set you up in little scenarios and stuff. And some people are there just for the money. They're greedy. They just want a few extra dollars. Some people want to feel important. They want a little sense of power. They feel like they're a big person, they mean somebody, and they're special, and they can have, they're just there to stalk and harass somebody. There's nothing special or important about them. They're scum, and so you meet all different sorts of personalities when you come through this stuff. And so if it has not happened to you, and you're just sitting back watching this happen to people, you don't know anything. It's 50 to 100 times worse than what you can imagine. The whole thing is set up to psychologically torture and damage a person as much as possible. It's set up in the hopes that you'll kill yourself. It's set up in the hopes that you'll lose your mind and go psychotic. It's set up in the hopes that you'll get a gun and run out and blow somebody away. That's exactly how it's set up. And it happens every day to people. Every single day there's people out there shooting people, killing people, committing suicide, losing their minds just because of gang stalking. So if you're participating in it, however it was explained to you is false. Whoever explained what scenario of it to get you to play your role, they're either lying to you or they've been misled themselves, and it's false. You're just a pawn being used to hurt somebody else. And that's all you are. That's all your role is. Your role is only used to hurt somebody, no matter what you've been told. So, and I'm not trying to be, but I'm just being honest. That's what it is. That's your whole role, is to damage somebody else, to damage their mind, to mess with them, to hurt their life. That's all you're worth. That's all your participation is worth. I'll put it that way. That's all your participation is worth. That's it. So, and I've been watching this for almost 3 years, and I've spoken to almost 90 different people about gang stalking. And I've spoken to, I'm a man who's going through it. And I've spoken to a lot of different women. I've spoken to a woman who took 120 pills, tried to kill herself after she lost her son because she was being gang stalked. She ended up in like a psychiatric ward like 4 different times. And how many, my God, man, I can't even count. I'm approaching 90 different people, and there's countless women out there whose lives have just been shattered and destroyed. It's not a pretty picture. It's really horrible. So moving on, we're gonna one of the things I want to talk about is okay, this is a video understanding the sensitization stage of gang stalking. Now, after so long of somebody being systematically stalked through gang stalking, they get used to it and they become sensitized to it. I never chose to participate in that route. I always just walked up to the people and engaged in it with them and told them what gang stalking was. I told them how I felt about it. And I become an educator on gang stalking. I become a counselor, and I do crisis counseling. I set up courses for people. I've gone up against a lot of things in my life, and so I refuse to view myself as a victim. If I'm going to be a victim, if I'm going to choose to play a role as a victim, then I'm going to make something out of that. I'm going to be saying what it feels like to be the victim. But I don't like the feeling of that. But now, for people who participate in gang stalking, are the people who are being gang stalked. Sometimes even the people who it happens to don't notice it. Objects will be placed in specific areas. So if you have neighbors, they'll go outside and use specific things on their lawn. If you work at a company, sometimes a company will use specific things like decorations or whatnot, or they'll turn the lights on in a room when there's no reason to turn the lights on. They'll turn the lights on for the gaslighting effect. And this sort of thing happens to a target of gang stalking constantly, everywhere they go. And they go through the sensitization process of it, and so a lot of times the person becomes like more vulnerable, so to speak, where they believe that there's no way of communicating their story to anybody, or there's nobody there to help them. Technically, I look at that, the sensitization stage of gang stalking, I look at that as an attempt to try to place an individual under some form of mind control. The confusion stage and the confusion stage basically is like terrorizing the individual beyond belief. Then the distraction stage I speak about is an attempt to use people who they are close to, or use concepts. Like, I was dating a woman for a couple months. They wanted to use her to participate in gang stalking assignments with other guys. So I'd be out hanging out, minding my own business, walking the streets, and then periodically they'd want her to drive by me and do different stuff. They were trying to use somebody who I was cool with, like I'm cool with this person, so they want to use this individual to be a large distraction. See, I'm out there hanging out, doing interviews, taking care of my business, trying to lead a successful life, teaching people about gang stalking, and so they're trying to use an individual who's, there may be an emotional connection. They want to use that for the biggest distraction as possible. And it's more than just that. It's more than just using that one individual. These people in the gang stalking network, they utilize technology to contact all these various other people around you. So they'll be using just dozens of people throughout the day. They'll find people who they were finding people who looked like her and stuff to walk with other guys and play little role. It's so crazy. It's so crazy how sophisticated and technological the stalking network is. It's just mind-blowing. If you have not experienced it, it is mind-blowing. The way they can mimic certain scenarios and use street theater, they have different people interact with each other and create like little plays and stuff like that outside. It's how if you never experienced this, I know it's going to sound kind of tripped out, but it's going on. That's just what they're doing. This is what gang stalking is. So the confusion stage is meant to really trip somebody out and just make them like panic and lose it. The distraction stage is set up to say, okay, now we know this guy or this woman knows about gang stalking, so how can we mess with them the most? You know, covert drugging. It seemed like when I was doing really good developing my courses, they started using covert drugging. Then it seemed like they wanted to use different sorts of women to do different sorts of stuff. Then the sensitization stage, that seems to happen to a lot of people who become very isolated. They get sensitized to this form of harassment, this stalking, and that in a sense with itself is very heinous. This does get into the area of mind. I do feel like it is, but if you actually do research on mind control, you can go look. The Central Intelligence Agency actually was very forthcoming back in the 1970s, and there was congressional hearings on the MKUltra project. And with the MKUltra project, I always laugh and say that's Mein Kampf Ultra, MKUltra. But with the MKUltra project, there was 150 sub-projects: Project Monarch, Project Artichoke. There was all sorts of Project Rainbow and stuff. There was all sorts of sub-projects. And I spent years studying this stuff, so I'm very familiar with it. But if somebody actually wants to go out and research mind control, that's already been done. The Central Intelligence Agency was very honest about the programs they were running back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and they came out and gave all the information to the American public. They didn't give they didn't give as much as they could have gave, but they were very forthcoming and honest about that. And so if anybody has any question of the existence of mind control, the government already said it. The government already admitted its existence a long time ago. So things like mind control exist, right? And we're caught up in 2018. So you got to think this stuff's still, it didn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? There's millions of dollars spent on researching mind control. And so there's people out there who know how it works. They know how to employ it on somebody else. It didn't go anywhere. There's still cults. There's still cults in America. There's still people who want to recruit individuals and use them and misuse them and whatnot. So that activity still goes on. So when I look at the sensitization stage of gang stalking, I feel, especially the women who have children, a lot of this gets into color perception and brain waves, right? You have alpha, beta, theta, delta, these different brain waves, gamma, and color perception is a big part of it, and neuro-linguistic programming, constantly having individuals follow you with red shirts while having a hostile approach to you. After so many years or so many months or maybe even so many weeks, depending on the individual, wouldn't you naturally change your perception of reality and interpret the red as being a hostile color after it's been used in your environment multiple times to stalk you? That's a form of mind control. I believe that should be looked into when it comes to the sensitization stage. Now, me, I don't care what color you got on. If I walk up to people constantly and just start telling them about gangs. Like, I don't trip off it. I don't care what pink, blue, red, orange, whatever. I'm there. And I'm teaching people about my courses, and I'm just active in it. But for a lot of people, they're terrified to talk to the people who are participatory in the gang stalking. And so I think there is an element of trauma-based mind control that does happen to individuals who are being gang stalked. You have people out there recruiting their friends, their family, their neighbors, their coworkers to participate in these strange stalkings. So it is altering the person's perception of reality, and that gets into color perception and brainwaves and whatnot. Then you're talking about covert drugging and electronic weapons. I mean, you know, that that's some serious stuff. You're talking about messing with somebody's mind. That's serious. You're damaging somebody's mind. That's serious. Like, you can get into a fight and get your jaw broken. That'll heal. But if you're damaging somebody's mind, I mean, you know, that's a whole nother area that should be that people have to study when it comes to this gang stalking. So basically what I do is I have people who come to me who say that they can't get help anywhere. They cannot get help. They cannot get the treatment they need. They can't get the counseling they need. They're having trouble keeping friends. They're having trouble keeping boyfriends or girlfriends, husbands, wives. They're having trouble even relationships with their children. They're having trouble all around. And so basically what I do is I explain to the person how I have dealt with gang stalking and some of the tactics that I've used and how they should talk about it and get it out of their system. So basically I counsel the individual. I give them some perspectives to make them not feel so isolated and fearful. But then I tell the individual at the same time, it's up to you to change how this affects yourself. You have the power, not me. I can't save you. All I can do is give you the best chance I can give you to getting what my education on it and the things I've learned. I can give that to you as best as possible, you know. And a lot of it has to do with listening to the individual talk. Most of the times when somebody first calls me, I just let them talk because they need somebody to listen to them because no one's listened to them. So for like an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, it's just listening. It's just listening. And then after that, the individual gets relaxed, and then we can talk a little bit more, you know, about what their goals are. So if somebody says, look, man, I got a goal. I want to get a job at a certain place, or I want to go back to college, and I don't think I can do this because I'm being gang stalked. And I say, well, wait a minute, you still can do it. And if you can't do it, you can do something else. But let's try. So I teach them a little bit about the approaches I've had so they can accomplish their goals. Then I speak to them periodically, maybe like an hour, 2 hours, or whatever, at least a week, so they can get out of their system. And then I say, well, okay, now you can move. And, you know, I've never had any official training counseling anybody, but this is just something that fell into my lap because these people usually have nowhere to go. They literally have nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. Literally nowhere. Go get the phone book. There's nowhere they're going. And so this has created a position for me because you're talking about people who are suicidal, people who have real issues, and I don't know, you know, if I don't speak to this person for a couple hours, can this person harm themselves, kill themselves? This person has children. Where is that going to put their son and daughter at if they kill themselves? You know what? So it's put me in a position of responsibility of what you say, community responsibility of helping. I've turned into a real neighborhood watch. It's funny. Neighborhood watches have been used to harm people and to destroy. The gang stalking network through neighborhood watches has been used to destroy people, and I've turned into the real neighborhood watch, where it's like I'm literally watching out for these people who are being destroyed. It's great. It's funny how life works. But so that's basically what I do. Is I try to give the person a fair chance to get on their own feet. Some people need help more than others, and I realize that. Like, there's some people it's just so bad, so I try to connect them with others that they can talk to. Like, if there's somebody closer to their location, I try to at least get them into a position where they might be open to email the person a little bit and feel comfortable. So, because there's very little I can do. Then there's people who speak about hearing voices through voice to skull technology, and so I get calls from people who say they're hearing voices. Psychotronic weapons are real. And for anybody looking for education on that subject, there were several articles printed back in the 70s of experimental electronic voice technology. Anthony Sutton has done some groundbreaking work on psychotronic weapons, how the Soviets were experimenting with this stuff back in the 70s, literally to make people hear voices. And so, it's 2018. The technology hasn't gone anywhere. It's just been improved. So you have individuals out there who are literally hearing voices from technology being experimented on them, are used on them. So I get calls from people saying, man, I'm hearing voices. Man, these people have done this to me, they've done that to me. And so it's just mind-boggling, all the stuff that goes on. So I just try to do my best to see the individual through when they come to me. I want them to leave better than as they came. So alright, so that's the sensitization stage that we just went through. And then the genie effect, mastering your mimic effect. This is just a little strategy I created. So the gang stalking network uses different sorts of tactics to mimic somebody. If you have a cell phone, like an iPhone, not just what you say on your phone, but what you say around your phone can get picked up on, and the audio gets picked up on, and people can actually, the gang stalking network will actually use a mimicking effect. They actually can intercept the audio that you're saying around your phone. And so I used to use YouTube a lot. And I used to come on YouTube and describe different stuff. Like with the girl I was dating, I was talking about her hair being orange. Her hair was red, but I made a joke saying her hair was turning orange. And then they started using orange shirts on people to mimic what I was saying. So I know there's going to be a lot of people out there. It's going to be too much for them. And it's going to sound crazy. But that's just something that goes on. I'm sorry, but that's just something that happens. So I came up with something called the genie effect, where I could start speaking about something through my YouTube videos, and it would be mimicked back to me. Where instead of the gang stalking network employing different people to follow me with the brights on their car and wear red shirts, they would be using individuals who looked a certain way or acted a certain way or something to add into the gang stalking. And so my changing of my behavior and the things I was saying was allowing them an opportunity to project that back to me through the mimic. And then I call that the genie effect, where I'm changing how I'm being mimicked. And I introduce that to a lot of people. A lot of people, I think that's a healthy thing for people to at least learn about, because it gives them a sense of power in their environment. You're talking about people who are extremely fearful and extremely isolated. And so for them to feel a sense of empowerment within the situation is a big thing. It's much bigger than what a spectator who's watching this could think. It really is. So the genie effect was something I developed myself for people. And so that's something I use. So I think that pretty much covers everything. I just wanted to I enjoy art, and I enjoy making different sorts of videos for people on pertaining to education on gang stalking. And I don't like to come online. When I talk, I usually get carried away, and it takes me, I get off topic a little bit. It's easier for me. I found it's easier for me to write things down. I got a blog now, and it's easier for me to write my experiences out or make it more clearer for people. But I like to reiterate the videos to some degree, because I think it's important sometimes to see the person and what they're saying instead of just reading it, because anybody can say anything, and you get a different sort of feeling when you're seeing somebody. But now I was with somebody who was being gang stalked for a few days. It was like a week ago, right? The gang stalking they were going through started happening to me. We were both being gang stalked, and I got to watch somebody up close in person be gang stalked. It was a hectic. It was a fun experience, but it was hectic though. The struggles, watching the person go through the struggles and stuff, was a lot different than just talking over the phone. Usually, I talk to these people over the phone for a period of time, but actually watching them personally struggle, and I was watching them be gang stalked. I watched the different people participate in the gang stalking assignment. So it was a different sort of feeling watching this happen to somebody, and it was kind of painful. Like, man, because I knew what the person was going through. So, you know, that was something new for me to be able to experience that. So, all right. So we wanted to reiterate. I wanted to put some different stuff together. So. And I just want to leave people with that, man. I just want to leave people with that if you go through something like this, your whole world is going to change. You just watching me talk about it right now on this video is not an interpretation for you. You have to actually go through this. If you go through this, your whole I know I don't care how many college credits you got. I don't care if you have a PhD, if you've been to the Delta Force, or what you've gone through. If you go through gang stalking, as I did, there's a good chance that if you went through what I went through of gangs, there's a good chance that you wouldn't be here right now, that you wouldn't be alive. There's a high probability that you would not have made it this far and still been alive. There's been several nights where I was walking down the street and cars would come at me like they were going to hit me and kill me, and they would get like 10 feet or 15 feet away and move away. You know, when it first started, there was death threats. There's been times where I was covertly drugged, and I had to walk the street like that with cars coming at me like they were going to hit me, and they'd get to a certain percentage and move away. Multiple cars. All doing this through the network of the gang stalking. I'm trying. People, they think this stuff's a joke or something funny or something like that. There's a good chance you watching this film. There was a high chance if this happened to you, what I went through, you would not be here. You would have been dead a long time ago. And so that's why I want to leave people with it. It's not a game or a joke. When somebody is telling you they're being gang stalked, it's serious. It's not a joke. It's nothing to laugh about. It's not a joke.